And welcome to Reliving My Youth. My name is Noel. My guest this week is Jim O'Heir. The actor is probably best known for portraying Jerry Gergich on NBC's Parks and Recreation. Show lasted 7 seasons, and it's one of the best shows of the last 25 years. Well, Jim is out with a new book called Welcome to Pawnee, Stories of Friendship, Waffles, and Parks and Recreation. It's basically his love letter to the show, as well as his own memoir. And he interviewed a lot of cast members, writers, producers, as well as the creator of the show, Greg Daniels. We talk about how he landed Christie Brinkley as his on-screen wife, and the episode that really solidified Jim as a cast member. We talk about some of his other amazing work. He was in a very memorable episode of Better Call Saul. He was in Friends, Star Trek Voyager. So many credits. In fact, he actually forgot a couple of shows that he was actually on, as well as the amazing movie Ed with Matt LeBlanc. We had a lot of laughs, and I hope you enjoy my conversation with Jim. So, Jim, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Noel. I'm very happy to do it.
Yeah, so there's so much with you to talk about. Your book that comes out next week, Welcome to Pawnee, Stories of Friendship, Waffles, and Parks Recreation. You were very nice enough to give me an advance copy, and I loved, I never really read books as quickly as I did yours.
Oh,
So,
good. I
so
love that.
congratulations. I know you're going all over with the book tour.
Yeah, they got me going literally all over the country. But let me just thank you for reading it, because I always, I've been doing a lot of interviews, and I just an interview is different when someone's read the material, and I can always tell, because you can tell someone who a producer might have just said, here's a couple of talking points. But when someone's read it, I love that. And as I said to you when we were off the air, I've never written a book before, so I'm nervous about how people will react to it. So far, it seems like it's been good. I hope it's good. But I'm thrilled that you're enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because more recently, my commute with work is like 90 minutes each way, so I've been enjoying Audible. I love that's great.
Yes,
All
yes,
the
yes, yes.
audiobook. So, is there an audiobook coming as well?
There is. And let me tell you something. I'm an actor. I do voice work. I do, TV, film, I do it all. And I actually I just finished a series with Aubrey Plaza. It's a new animated show called Kevin that's going to be coming out, I think, next year. And I love it. You go into the booth for an hour or two, but doing an audiobook, holy cow.
I can imagine.
It's a hill to climb. And they booked me for 3 days. And for 3 days, for 9 hours, took an hour for lunch. It is just going at it and reading. And you get tired, like your tongue gets tired, but they have it all set up. Okay, Jim, we're going to have you bite an apple now and take a sip of water. Like it was something I had never done. It was really intense. So I have a lot more appreciation, because I also love an audio book.
Yeah.
And I have a lot more appreciation now. And then they were even telling me, because a lot of times people reading their books are not in the entertainment business. They're just people who wrote a book about whatever their topic is.
Right.
And they might book 3 days, but one guy in particular took 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because they stop you after every line if it's not exactly perfect, and if there's a word that's just, if you didn't hit that S or whatever. Yeah, so it was a whole thing. I was glad when it was over, but I've heard pieces of it, and I think I'm good. I think it's good. I hope it's good. So yeah, but I'm with you. I love to be in the car and just listen. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you have like the author of the book, narrating it, or
that's my favorite too.
It's great. Yeah.
And what they did for my book was, there's interviews in the book. There's Chris Pratt, and then there's the creators of the show, and Retta, and other people, and they brought in actors to do their voices.
Okay.
So it's not, which I loved, because it'll make more sense, because there's dialogue where we go back and forth.
Right.
And it's great to hear someone else do it. So it breaks it up. Yeah.
Good.
So I was really happy with that.
Good. That was my next question. If you were going to have, people like you mentioned Chris Pratt or Retta or Greg Daniels, or the people who
Well, they didn't do their own.
I didn't think so, but I think
no.
Okay.
We had people do them. And one of the cool things was they sent me a list of options for people that could do it. And so I look and they sent me, samples of their work, and I'm like, oh, that kind of has a Chris Pratt sound to it. This sounds good. And then one of the guys they sent me was Oh, now I'm blanking on his name, but he recurred on Parks. He
Okay.
was always the announcer on whenever there was an event, he would be hosting the event.
Jim Meskimen.
Jim Meskimen,
I had him on
thank
the
you.
show. Yeah.
Yes, Jim.
Yeah.
And so Jim is one of the readers
He's
in the
great.
book.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And I'm sure you know this,
Marion
his
Ross's
mother
son.
is Marion
Yep.
Ross. Yeah, so
I had her on the
he's
show too.
she's
Yeah.
adorable. Yeah.
Oh my God,
We've
love her.
worked at the same theater many times in Kansas City,
Yeah.
and they love her to death, and she's amazing. But yes, I love that Jim.
Yeah.
Here he does a guy who recurred on the show is also in this book. Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it. I think
Uh,
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. And he was
Yeah.
known for those I Love You Man commercials or those Budweiser
Yes.
ones and
Well,
everything like
first of
that.
all, he's such a good, like he can copy
Oh,
anybody. He's
anything.
a
Yeah.
wow. He's
Yeah.
special. He's got it. He's
Yeah.
really got it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So like
I'm so glad you said his name because it was going to make me crazy. Because of
yeah,
course I know his name, but I'm
yeah, no, of
62 and
course. Yeah.
names of
Right.
disappear quickly in
Yeah.
my head.
No, as soon as you said announcer, I'm like, boom, I know exactly who you're
That's
talking
Jim.
about.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did you start, you know, the idea of making, writing this book, and what was the approach to it?
Well, I can't even take credit for it because it was presented to me from these writing agents in New York, book agents out in New York. They called my reps and they said they have an interest, or they want to know if you have an interest in writing a book about, your experiences on parks, because their thought was we're coming up on a big anniversary, the 10th anniversary. So the other thing is, this all started 2 years ago. These books don't just happen.
Right.
Like it's a whole lot of work. And so they met with me. We had a phone call, and I said, that's an interesting thought. And what surprised me was there was no other book out there. There is no other book on Parks and Recreation, with the caveat written by someone who was there. I
Okay.
know there's, people write books and
Yeah.
I don't know where they get their info from, whatever.
Right.
God bless. But there's never been a book from someone who lived it. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. And so they said, but I said, I don't know, do I have enough to tell? Can I fill a book? I don't know. And so they said, let's do a Zoom call and we'll just chat for 2 hours. And at the end of the 2 hours, we'll figure out whether we think there's, your stories are interesting enough to have a book. Okay. So we plan it. And Noel, within 30 minutes, they stopped me and they said, Jim, we'll keep going here, but you have a book.
Wow.
We could tell already there's plenty of stories. And it's also, yes, it's mostly about parks and I call it my love letter to the show, but it's it's a memoir too. So I talk about other shows I've been
Right.
in instances, working on other shows with other actors and people I've met over the years. So there's that mixed in too. But I love that within a half hour they were like, oh yeah, they were excited. And then again, I know nothing about the book world, so they put it out into the world, into the publishing world to see if there'd be interest. Just because they think it's interesting doesn't mean anybody else
Yeah.
will. And so, Noel, over like a week and a half, I met with everybody, all of them, all the big publishers, and Simon and Schuster and Penguin and HarperCollins, all of them. And so then apparently what happens is it goes on an auction.
Right.
Again, I know none of this, and so I remember I was heading to. So they told me the day the auction was happening, and I was heading to Denver. I think I was. What the hell was I doing in Denver? I was going to judge a film festival, be one of the judges. So I remember getting on the plane thinking, damn, when I get off this flight, I might have a book deal.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I never thought that would happen in my life. And I get off that plane and there is no book deal. There is no phone call. There is no text, nothing. And it was so deflating. I was like, oh, hell. And there was nothing guaranteed, but
Right.
you
Of
kind of,
course.
you build up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. But okay, it didn't cost me anything than some time talking to these guys
Yeah.
because they did all the work of putting the presentation together. And
Right.
and then I did speak to all the publishers. I put time into that. So the day I'm in Denver, I'm doing my thing. And then about, I don't know, around 6 o'clock, I get a text from the agent. And he said, can you get on a quick call with your manager? I said, oh, yeah, let's check with her. But yeah, I can. And we get on the call. He goes, how you doing? I said, well, I was hoping it would be a better day.
Yeah.
He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, the auction was today and, obviously it didn't happen and I'm, disappointed. He goes, what are you talking about? He said, it just ended. I go, what do you mean? He goes, dude, it's an auction. It's all day because someone bids and then the other people hear what the bid was and
Right.
then they come back and they back and forth, back and forth. I had no idea. This is all new to me. So I said, oh, well, did somebody want it? And he paused and he goes, they all want it.
Wow.
And that blew me away. They
Nice.
all bid. Everybody, everybody, whatever. And then we end up going with HarperCollins. William Morrow is the division of it.
Okay.
And we did that, for many reasons. The agents had worked with them a lot, and the money, like all the things, the reasons you make a deal.
Yeah.
And so that's what officially started it. And yeah, and the goal was it would come out around the 10th anniversary, and that's where we're headed. So yeah,
Perfect.
it's a long-winded answer to tell you that's why.
No, yeah, perfect. Absolutely. And like you said before, there's got interviews with cast members and creators and producers
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Was it difficult tracking any of these people down to
The-
sit with
the-
you?
that was the toughest part. First of all, this cast, and I always feel like I sound so like a little kid, like, oh, it was all so wonderful. But it was. And that cast is so wonderful. And everybody was looking to be so helpful. But, Chris Pratt is working around the world. Like
never
he's
stops,
literally, he's gone from Parks and Rec to being one of the most famous actors in the world. And yet we figured it out. And he found time and he sat down with me. Yes, Mike Schur and Greg Daniels, who I so wanted their view on everything because they were there from day one. They
Right.
created this thing.
Yeah.
And here's another thing I mentioned that when I tell the tale of how this all happened. After the book deal came through, I felt, and I know I'm an adult and I didn't have to do this, but I wanted Mike Schur, Greg Daniels, and Amy Poehler's approval.
Right.
Now I know that sounds a little simple, but there was something in me that I don't know. And I didn't have to. It just felt like I wanted their thumbs up, especially Mike and Greg,
Right.
because this is their baby. This is not my baby. This was my experiences because of their baby. And so I reached out to all of them. Greg immediately, Jim, you're the perfect person to do this. You were there for all of it, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, let me know what I can do. Let me know what I can do. So, but the problem is with him and Mike Schur, they're always working on other shows.
Right.
So it's all crazy. Like even today, I did an interview today early with NPR. I walk in and there's Mike Schur, which blew my mind. He's
Right.
like, what are you doing here? I go, I'm here to promote the book. And he's there to promote his new show that starts with Ted Danson next week.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just saying, these people work nonstop.
Yeah.
And also, I work a lot. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like I just could spend 2 years doing this book. I do TV and film and theater and all the stuff I love to do. So yes, that was the toughest part, trying to figure out schedules. But we did it. And everybody was so like Pratt, when I finally was able to get him, he said, I'm like, I'm so sorry, dude. I know you got a million things. He goes, no, this will be a trip down memory lane. And so we spent hours just chatting, and because we all have our memories of how an event happened, but it's fun when someone else goes, oh, well, here's how I remember it.
Exactly.
Because that
It's all
happens.
different.
Like Retta corrects me a couple of times in the book. Like she literally calls me out. I'm like, oh yeah, that is how that happened, because these are my memories. So, but anyway, so Amy and Mike and Greg were all on board. Amy's like, yes, you have such a memory for all this stuff. And then now that it's here, Amy did a live event with me last week, and
Which was
Aubrey's
great.
going to do an event in New York, and Retta's doing an event this coming week. So they're, and they get nothing out of that. You know what I'm saying? This is just because they're the best people in the world, and they're helping me out. So, it was a pretty amazing experience. But yes, again, I ramble just to get to the point of it was tough to get them.
Right. And they do it because they love you, and which is great. And your dedicated fan base keeps growing, and this book is only gonna increase that as well. One of the funny thing, I don't want to like give too many stories away from the book or have you, but like the one you had dinner with Chris, and
I know this story.
a little ill, which was I felt bad for reading that, but yeah.
I think there's few people, if any, that will be as dumb as I am and admit that can I use language on this
Absolutely.
podcast, that I shit myself while shooting an episode of Parks and Recreation, and the take they used is the one that's in the episode. And for those who know the show, it's when we're moving Tom Haverford out of his house because he had a green card marriage, and anyway, they're divorcing. And Chris and I had gone to dinner the night before after a table read. Went to really this. I hate saying the name of the place because, first of all, I'm not 100% it was caused by them, but plus I still love this place. Like the
Right.
food's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's a place in Studio City, and near where we worked. And so, Chris and I go to dinner, a lot of laughs. And I always and this is off topic a little, but I always remember. So Pratt and I are having dinner, and his phone rings, and it's his agent. He goes, "Oh, I got to take this. They never call."
Right.
And I'm thinking, boy, has the world changed for him.
Yeah.
Imagine the phone calls. But anyway, so whatever. We have a great dinner, blah, blah, blah. Everybody goes home. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and things have gone bad. Really, really bad from both ends. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. So it's 7 in the morning. I wake up, I call Pratt. I go, are you sick? No, what's going on? So whatever it was something I ate because we shared one thing, but other than that, we had different entrees. So whatever, but I got sick. And so the difference when you're an actor, and especially, this is a series, and you can't just call off. Like before I was an actor, I was still an actor, but doing theater at night. I had a full-time job in Chicago. I worked downtown, and you could call off if you were sick. You call off. Hey, I'm sick. I can't come in. You can't really do that on a television show.
Right.
First of all, we were shooting location that day, which means hundreds of people are now wherever this house is that we're shooting at. And there's scripts, and I have to be there. Yeah. So I get there, and the first AD, Susie Flower, who's one of the greats, I told her what was going on, and she took such good care of me, And even when we got to the house, I had my own trailer, but then when we get to the house, in the house, she said, this bathroom is only yours. Nobody, this is yours. So if you got to go, just run in here. It will be open. Nobody else would be. I mean, they just took such good care of me. And everybody was so wonderful because they all knew I was sick. Like, as I was during a lunch break, I was heading back to my trailer. I ended up throwing up in a neighbor's bush. Like my body was just not happy. So later in the afternoon, I'm feeling a little better, but still not great. And we're doing a scene where we're picking up boxes and putting them in a truck. And that movement caused a movement. And I shit myself. Yes. So, and it's funny because I thought, should I even write about this? It's so embarrassing. And I thought, that's human. And I'm sorry, no one, I'm sure there's some people who won't admit it, but introduce me to someone who's never shit themselves accidentally, whether it was from being sick or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're humans. And so I thought, I'm going to tell my story. So yes, that did happen.
I mean, on topic, I was at my in-laws over the weekend, and my brother and sister-in-law were there. Brother-in-law, and we had this conversation about shitting himself. And it was just like,
that's family. I love that.
Yeah, totally. So just, and like, I think he went to me. He's like, "You don't have any stories?" I'm like, "No." I mean, of course I did. I just wasn't sharing at that point. I mean, everyone sharts,
Well, first, exactly. Yeah. At the very least, a shart. At the very least, everybody has been like, "Uh-oh,
yeah,
I got to go check that."
Right. Yeah.
Nice topic we're on here, Noel. Very
exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. And then one time on my old job, I ripped my pants right down the seam. And thankfully, there was a gap 2 stories down from my office.
Oh, so you ran over.
So I cover my butt and, hobble over there, get a pair and, change. Not a problem. Any place else, I would have been,
Yes, now what?
Literally shitting myself.
I get it.
Yeah. I mean, there's, like you mentioned other, roles you had in there. And people might not remember this movie. And I feel that it got lost and should have been nominated for an Oscar and lost to, I think, Forrest Gump that year, was Ed.
Oh, you son of a bitch. How dare you? How dare you bring that
I'm using your words in the book because, your review of it was a little,
how dare you say it should? Yes, it should have won an Oscar. I should have won an Oscar. Matt LeBlanc should have won an Oscar.
Exactly.
They should have. Every award should have been for Ed that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still out there apparently because somebody told me that they watch it all the time, which I'm like, I thought they were doing a bit, joking.
Right. Yeah.
And they said, no, I watch it all the time. I was like, oh, okay. There's something wrong with you, but okay, if that's whatever you're into.
Yeah.
It was my first film ever. Where I fought, audition after audition after audition, and I finally get it. I'm so excited. It's going to star Matt LeBlanc. And at the time, it's when Friends had blown up.
Right.
So they were handing these guys movies during their hiatus. They even, no, they, it was a baseball movie, and they built a stadium. They built a baseball stadium in Santa Clarita, outside of LA, where it's hot as hell, but whatever. And we're shooting in the summer. But I mean, they thought this is going to be Matt's big one. But his co-star, the lead actor, was a monkey, and not even a real monkey. It was an animatronic. It was, I should say, the head was animatronic.
Okay.
The body was a little person, and it was a husband and wife team.
Right.
And so they would swap in and out. It got so hot. And I remember we're shooting in Santa Clarita, where it's 100 and something in the shade. They would run onto and these actors, they had to, run like a monkey would run around bases in 100 and something degrees. And then sometimes between scenes, they would run out with something that looked like a hairdryer, but apparently it was blowing cold air. And they would open the monkey's mouth, because it was attached to something, and shoot cold air in their face. I mean, the whole thing was nuts.
Right.
But in the story I tell in the book, which is what happened. So again, it's my first movie. I'm just wow, this is exciting. And now it's time for the premiere. And my mom flies in from Chicago, and my friend, it's a big deal. It's my first movie premiere. And we do the red carpet. And because it was a baseball movie, they had baseball themed food. It wasn't like some premieres are, I think, grossly fancy. Just give me something good, But in this, they did this. It was burgers and dogs and beer. They were and peanuts. It was totally a baseball theme. And so we go in to watch the movie, and I got, we got a row of my family and friends. And again, it's exciting. I'm going to be on the big screen. And then it starts. And within like 15 minutes, I'm thinking, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But I thought, well, I don't know. Okay. So the movie ends, and I was, you're in trouble. It's like when, I've done a lot of theater. When after you do a theater gig and people are like, yeah, the lighting was really good. Boy, those effects, that lightning effect was really something. You're screwed.
Yeah.
And so my friends were being, very supportive and like, oh, you were great. Oh, you were great. You were great.
Yeah.
As they would, they're my friends and family. And so I don't really know what to think, but I end up seeing Matt afterwards, Matt LeBlanc, and I'm thinking this is going to be a postmortem of, oh, this didn't work out. And he says to me, hey, I think we got a winner. But here's the thing. I was so novice to this. I thought, well, maybe he knows more than I do. Who the hell am I? I've never done a movie.
Yeah.
Maybe. So got excited.
Right.
Well, Matt was wrong. Matt was wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody else was right.
Yeah.
I think I could be wrong about this. Now, in its behalf, we're talking the late 90s, 97 maybe, around that time. I think it made $4 million over, I'm talking overall. It made like $4 million, which is nothing. But here's the nice part, and this can't be taken away. Two of my nieces, the first movie they ever saw in their lives on a big screen was Ed.
Okay.
And that's kind of a special, I love that. Like the first movie they ever saw, I was in. And so that gives me some, and I would say, but what I also have to say about that film, I had a great time. I loved every second of it. And I feel bad for all the people involved that it didn't do better. But my God, I had a smile on my face every day. I was just happy to be there. And let's face it, nobody's blaming Jim O'Heir for that film. When your name is Matt LeBlanc, they're going to blame him and the writer. That's just how it works. And the director, of course.
Right. And I think it worked out okay for Matt. I think
it worked. You know what?
Nicely.
I hope he's doing okay. Yeah, I hope.
So. Yeah.
And let me tell you, when the last season of Friends, I think it was their 10th season, I got cast to play the adoption guy who Monica and Chandler and Anna Faris played the girl who was having the baby, which is so crazy because this is before I knew Chris.
Okay.
And at the time, he and Anna weren't even together. Just crazy. When I would joke with him, when he was still married to Anna, I'd be like, oh, dude, you're lucky I didn't make my move. Because believe me, she'd have been all over me, all over me. But anyway, so the day I show up on set to Friends, I hadn't seen Matt in years. And he sees me oh my God, what are you doing here? What are you doing? You know, what role? Anyway, chat, chat, chat. And then he takes me around to introduce me, and he introduces me to the cast members. He goes, hey, Jim was in my shitty movie. So, because
Yeah.
they all got thrown all these projects
Yeah.
and they mostly were not good.
No.
They mostly were not good. So, yeah. So, you know how it all turns out. It was great. And yes, Matt did just fine.
Yeah.
Just fine.
Absolutely. And like besides Friends, he was in an amazing show called Episodes.
And then I loved it.
Yeah.
I
And
love that show.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah.
you know, here's what I'm going to say also about Friends. Um, Anyone who will listen will, you know, hear me ramble on about the relationships we had on Parks and
Right.
how it was a family. It was one. It was we to this day we have the thing called the Parks family text. The other day, Chris had his new baby. It was all about the baby, back and forth, Ford, Fitzgerald, Schwarzenegger, Pratt. You know, like
Right.
in a beautiful picture. He's 10 pounds. Like, so we're in each other's lives still all the time, and it's been 10 years. I don't think that happens that often. And I get a little I'm going to say petty. I get a little crazed when I say I'm watching a late night show
Right.
and I see somebody from a show that I've worked on because, you know, I've been very blessed with my
Yeah.
career. I've done a lot of shows before Parks. I've done a lot of shows after Parks. And I'll see these people on these late night shows saying, oh, we're one big happy family. And I'm sitting at home going, you're a liar. I was on your show.
Right.
And that was not one big, I don't know what it
Yeah.
was, but I wouldn't call it a big happy family. And so, but the difference is Friends was a big happy family. I saw that. After 10 seasons, I saw them eating lunch together. I was blown away. And I remember saying to a friend, boy, that's the dream job to get on a show where everybody gets along. Again, after 10 years.
Right.
You know, actors, I'm one of them. We have egos and all of our craziness
Yeah.
in our head. And then the miracle of all miracles, that's exactly what I ended up with. I ended up with, we didn't do 10 years, but we did 7.
Yeah.
And the same love that was at the beginning was at the end. And I'm so grateful for, and it still carries on to this day. And I'm just so grateful for that.
No, that's great. And I've heard, I'm a big Golden Girls fan. And I heard
Oh,
stories
me
that,
too. I love the Golden Girls.
yeah, like all of them would just separate, you know,
Yes.
when after filming and just when I, you know, hang
You know,
around, chit
and
chat and stuff.
yeah, and I've been on a lot of shows and I've seen it and people they get you know, there's so many distractions. You know, a lot of times you go to your trailer or
Yeah.
you know, and there's a million things that can happen. And certainly we did all that kind of stuff too. But we also stayed together. We never lost that love. And there's an episode in season 2 that I credit as being for me. Everyone's got their own take on this,
Mhm.
but it's one of my very favorite episodes. And not because it's the greatest episode ever written of Parks. I think it's a great one, but maybe not the greatest. But it's called The Hunting Trip.
Yeah.
And it's where Ron gets shot in the head and
Exactly.
everyone's trying to
Unless
figure
he
out who
takes
did
the
it. And
ball. Yeah.
yeah, Aziz is, yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And also, I will say, for anyone who doesn't know that episode, go watch it right now and watch Retta when she thinks her
Great.
Mercedes Benz has been shot, and
Yeah.
when she attacks Leslie, because she
Yeah.
thinks Leslie is the one who shot it. I'm sorry, it doesn't get funnier than that.
Yeah.
And also in that episode, when Amy's talking to the forest ranger, coming up with excuses about why
Yeah.
she might have, and a lot of that was just improv because Amy's a genius.
Her bra
And
opens from the front.
oh, so because
So
she
great.
realized he's this misogynist, he
Yeah.
doesn't want to hear any legit reasons.
Right.
She needs to play to who he is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you know, women, we'd be nuts. Like, you know,
Yeah.
she's just doing the whole thing.
Exactly.
But the reason that, and for many reasons, it's a great episode. But I always call it the episode "The Cast Fell in Love" because we were together in the forest for a week, and we couldn't run to our trailers. We couldn't disappear. And I always say it's when we got to know each other because, you know, there's a lot of downtime on a set. There just is. There's relighting, resetting, millions of things go on between scenes. It rarely goes fast. And that's, you know, some people I know have left famous people have left the business because of it just makes them crazy. But
Right.
it is the nature of the business. It's just what it is. And so, but we just hung and so that episode has such a special place in my heart. And I also compared because the cast was falling in love and back on set, so was Andy and April.
Yeah.
Because they were the only two to stay back.
Exactly.
And that was the first of the flirtatious, you know, story with
Yeah.
them. And then it led to, of course, the craziest couple that's ever been on a television show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. April was on hold for like an hour, and she had to go to the bathroom, gets
And
Andy
so
to
can
come
you
in.
say these numbers? Yeah.
It's really
And,
great.
and Pratt isn't even catching on to the little flirt stuff because he's still involved. He wants
Yeah.
Ann Perkins. But then as you know, as the time goes on, he realizes April's his girl. And again, for fans who love the show, I'm a TV guy. I love television. I love it. I loved it from when I was a kid. My parents were not those people who didn't let us watch. They did let us watch more than I should have, is my guess. But that's what they did, and I'm thrilled. And so I hate the will they, won't they bullshit.
I agree.
Because some shows will go for seasons.
Yeah.
Will they? Well, oh, they did get. Oh no, they broke up.
Yeah.
And it makes me crazy. But with Parks, they didn't really do that. Once April and Andy finally got together, oh my God, they're married.
Yeah.
And once Ben and Leslie finally got it,
agreed.
They're doing their thing, and I love that. The only one that was kind of on and off at the beginning was Ann and Chris.
Yeah.
That was a little on and off. But I love that that's how they handled it. And the episode where Andy and April get married. Now, I'm an adult man. I know I'm acting. I know none of this is real. But when April walked down that little aisle on that set, I got all teary-eyed because it just seemed it also seemed right. Normally, if young people like that were getting married, I'd be the first one to go, "Oh no, no, we don't know. No, think this through. You're too young." And Leslie tried to do that with them. She's like, no, this, whatever. And then you look at the two of them and you go, yeah, this does work.
It's perfect. Yeah.
For whatever reason, this is perfect. And their marriage is unconventional as it was perfect.
Yeah.
And perfect for them for sure.
Yeah. And I love when Ben moves into the spare room there.
Exactly.
Teach them how to be adults. And I just love
We're eating off of Frisbees. They don't know what the hell is going on.
They're sharing a fork. Yeah.
Yes, sharing a fork. And they don't care. This is just how it is. And remember, that wasn't even first their house. That was Burley's house from Mouse Rat.
Exactly.
So it didn't even begin as their house because God forbid Andy would ever be able to figure out how to get a house. He was living in a pit.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Yeah. Which, brings to another point, that they were thinking about calling the show at the pit or something at first, because which would have been interesting, but you would have been restricted just to that pit.
You would have been totally restricted because now you're saying it's always got to be about this.
Exactly.
Whereas, and when the show began, and this was what I loved about doing this book, I learned so many things that I never knew. I never knew Amy wasn't the first one cast. I didn't know Aziz was the first one cast. I didn't know it was going to be called The Pit. I didn't know that the network offered them the spot after the Super Bowl. Yeah. And they said no, which is, who the hell turns that down? Yeah. So, there's so many great moments. And that's, oh my God, talking to Mike and Greg in particular was so mind-blowing because I learned all this stuff.
Yeah.
Had they stuck with, at least when you call it Parks and Recreation, now you're in the world of government. Yeah. And that can encompass all sorts of things. And I also learned that when NBC said, The Office is their show, Greg's show. He brought it from the English show to the States. And of course it was out the gate. It's still one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, me too.
And so NBC, as they do, okay, give us something else. They said, give us a spinoff.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay. And then he was working with Mike and they were thinking about it. And they decided, and again, I knew none of this until I wrote the book. And they decided, we don't really want to do an Office spinoff. We don't want to do that. And they came up with, because that was private sector. And they said, no, what if we do something in government? And so that turned into Parks and Recreation. So there's so many things that were so fun to learn. And also, my own phone and the cast phone, people sent me pictures that I used in the book. There's over 60 pictures in this book that people have not seen before because it's us getting on a plane or being stupid on set or something like that. So it was fun to be able to share all this. And though, again, I never knew it would take 2 years.
Right.
I had no idea the time commitment. But here we are. It's finally happening.
Yeah. And then just think of all this stuff. I'm wearing a Duke Silver t-shirt. There's so much merchandise. Did you ever think you would have your own action figure?
Okay. First of all, take a look. Now, right now, turn it and face it. Look at my crotch. Is that the weirdest looking crotch on a doll that you've ever seen? I don't know what's happening there.
Now, you would think, since the doctor said that
The doctor said it.
certain
Yes.
part, of your
Jerry
body,
has
you
the
would think
largest
that'd be
penis
a
he's ever
little,
seen.
yeah, larger. But yeah, I just
But
love it. Yeah,
no, that is blows my mind. There's
yeah,
also a Funko Pop of me
yeah,
with little Sebastian. So yeah, no, all that stuff still blows my mind because most shows come and go. It's the nature of it. I've been on a million shows.
right.
Look me up on IMDb.
Yeah,
I've been around shows that will never be seen again. Some are still like, my God, ER, I think, is still out there. And of course, Friends is still out
mm,
there. There's some that are still out there. But in general, shows come and go. And so to not just luck out and get onto a show like Parks and Rec, but so it does its run 7 years. That doesn't happen anymore, or rarely, not
yeah,
never, but rarely happens anymore. So to get 7 years to go into syndication, plus we're streaming, and a new audience is constantly finding us. I mean, all over the world.
right.
I was shooting a film in New Orleans, and a man from India came up, and he was like just all excited. And I said, I have to ask, where did you see this? I thought maybe he lives in the States now. He
Yeah,
goes, no, I saw this at home. So, and Nick has this one man show that is hysterical. If anybody ever sees him coming to town, you got to see it. He sings, he tells stories, he does. I jumped on stage with him one day and surprised him. We sang Bye Bye Little Sebastian.
right.
Anyway, it was just crazy. But he does this great show, and he does it now all over the world because Australia loves us, the UK loves us. So the fact that this show is still out there, it's a miracle. It kind of really is a miracle. And it's not, who knows, anything can happen in life, but it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon because new audiences keep
Yeah,
finding it. And I am so grateful. And I know how blessed I am that whatever miracle happened, I ended up on that show. And people also say it's a comfort show. Like I consider the Golden Girls a comfort show.
yeah,
I really do. I don't need to even see it. I can hear it and I know Sophia and I
yep,
know,
exactly.
I know
Blanche,
all the
all of them.
characters.
Yeah,
Dorothy and
yeah,
Blanche and Rose. I know all of it. And it comforts me. Like
yeah,
recently there was some stuff, politically that happened. I needed some Golden Girls and I
exactly.
needed some MASH and I
Yeah,
needed some Mary Tyler Moore
uh,
because those are kind of my three of
yeah,
my go-tos.
right.
And I love that Parks has become a comfort show for people. I love that, and I'm honored that I can do that. This charity that I'm involved in, this man came up to me. We're in New York, I think about 2 weeks ago, and it was the 50th anniversary, so it was a big event. Cipriani's, this big fancy place in New York,
Yep.
and he came up to me, and I've been at these events. I've been with the organization for about 12 years now, so I've been at many events, and I've never met this man. And he said, "I've always wanted to come up, but I when I approach you, I start getting emotional." I said, "Oh,
Wow.
what's going on?" And then he did start getting emotional, and he said, "Parks saved his mental health because he didn't tell me the story, but something was going on with his wife and his son. I think it was a medical thing from the
Okay.
different things he was saying. I think it was medical." And he said, "All I had was nighttime putting you guys on, and it gave me the peace that I needed to get through the next day." And
Wow.
he had literally tears running down his
Yeah.
eyes. And I mean, Noel, that's wow, that's powerful. And I, whatever small little part I have to play in that makes me very happy, very, very happy.
Yeah. And just like Friends, that show has found like a new audience, new
Oh
generation.
yes,
And
Friends will
the
be out
show
there
too.
forever. It
Yeah.
will be. It
Yeah.
just will be. And because I had worked it and saw how great they all were together, I want that to thrive.
Yeah.
Because I've been in shows where people aren't great to each other, and it kind of makes me mad. I'm like, you're so lucky. This is a weird statistic that I
Mm,
heard, but at any point, only 2% of Screen Actors Guild members, which is our union,
yeah.
are working at the same time. Only
Wow.
2%. So Noel, think about that. If you're a working actor, you're a one lucky son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just so, I mean, if it's truly what you want to be doing, like someone like me,
Yeah.
it's what I love to do. And so to be on a set and not be grateful and be crabby and I'm not saying everyone has bad days.
Of
I have
course.
bad days.
Yeah.
That's life. But
Right.
I'm saying in general,
Yeah.
someone who's just, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you're on a TV show or a film, whatever the project happens to be. you're one of this little pocket of people who are having a job right now.
Yeah.
You're probably going to keep your insurance because you have to make certain amounts of money to
Right.
keep your insurance. And it makes me crazy. It just, and I'm not calling anyone out, but I've worked with a lot of famous people who just made me mad.
Yeah.
Just made me mad because I think you have got to be grateful if you, first of all, to get jobs in this industry is tough to begin with. You're up against so many people for every single job you're
Right.
fighting. And so to get those jobs and then not be grateful, that don't sit well with me.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. And that number is like that's shocking because
Think about that. Now,
yeah,
at one point, they're saying at any one time, only
right.
2% of us are working.
Yeah.
2%.
That's crazy because you figure, okay, you have the networks and then you have all the streaming
Yes.
sites. There's so many streaming sites now.
So
They're
what? Right.
churning out so much work, and
I
it's
know, but
it's
but
crazy.
also you got to remember things are different now. In my day, when I say my day, I'm 62 now, but like Parks, we would do 20 to 24 episodes a year. That's standard for a sitcom. Now, 8 to 10
That's true.
on streaming. What streaming show do you know that does 20 episodes? They
No.
don't.
Yeah.
None of them.
Right.
They do 8 to 10. So the work, yes, it seems like there's more product, and there is,
Yeah.
but it's sometimes a third, because if we did 24 one season, if now someone's doing 8, that's a third of what
Right,
we
exactly.
did.
That's true.
That's a big difference. And we weren't going, we were all doing it.
No, of
Because
course.
all the shows,
Yeah.
and my God, Seinfeld and The Office,
Yeah.
all of them. That's how it was. That's just how
Right.
it was. So those days have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's why, because they try to attract the big names. You're not going to get Nicole Kidman to do
Of
24
course,
episodes of a show.
exactly. She's not going to commit to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hey, God bless. Good
Yeah.
for them. And I'm a binge watcher. I love binging a show that I'm on Penguin right now. I have only 2 more
Okay. I
episodes
haven't
left.
started that. I want. Yeah.
Oh my God. It just believe me, this isn't me being prophetic. Anyone with a brain cell will know he's going to win every award out there, Colin Farrell, because
Right.
he's literally transformed. And not just physically, because
Yeah.
hair and makeup and special effects can
Right.
change this.
Yeah.
You will not know it's him.
Okay.
Everything about it is a character, and he deserves, I'm sure there'll be other candidates, but
Of
as
course.
of now, I think he will win all the awards.
Yeah. I'll have to.
Yeah. You got to
watch
check
that.
it out.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe that'll be in the comedy, right, category.
Yeah. Like
the
the Bear
was in the
Yeah.
commentary, right?
Don't get me started down that road, dude.
Yeah.
And believe me, I watched The Bear. It's a great show,
Yeah.
but is it a comedy? Hell no.
Oh.
And the reason they put it up for a comedy initially, they knew they were going to lose to Succession. And so they wanted to try to win. And just because they have a couple of scenes with the cousins who do wacky, funny things,
exactly.
and it's good. I like, give me a mix of funny but that is a drama. It is a drama. It's not even a dramedy.
No.
It's a drama. And that makes me crazy because it's
it-
taking awards away
Right.
from people who are really
comedy.
doing comedic material.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think there was more comedy in Succession.
I
The Bear,
think there was too.
Yeah.
100%. I would not argue that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. Yeah. So I have to ask, so when they approached you for, I know it's in the book, your wife, Christie Brinkley,
Yes.
and I kind of teased it like I'm interviewing a certain piano man who was married to Christie Brinkley. I didn't give it away, so everyone's like, "Oh my God, Billy Joel!" Like,
He got Billy Joel. Sorry, I only got
Sorry.
Jim O'Hare. Sorry.
Yeah, right. So what was that reaction like?
Well, it was, first of all, it was surreal because, Jerry was, as Ron Swanson said in A Talking Head, every office needs a Schlemiel and a Schlemazel. Jerry is both.
Both, yep.
So that is who I was in that office. So I was the punching bag. And Mike Schur, one of the co-creators, will tell you they had so much fun writing those bits where they were mean to Jerry. He goes, it's just easy to write. And the writers would make each other laugh. And finally, he's like, okay, this can't continue or he's going to kill. Like, why wouldn't this character kill himself? He's got nothing other than being mocked at work. And that's when he decided we're going to give him an amazing home life.
Right.
And that's what he did.
Yeah.
So one day after a table read for whatever episode, he said, listen, we're thinking about your family. And just so you know, when an actor hears that, that's a good thing to hear because it means we're talking backstory and you're only doing a backstory on someone who you think is going to be sticking around. Yeah. Otherwise, you move on. So I was, of course, beyond thrilled. And I said, oh, what do you think? And he goes, we're thinking maybe a Christie Brinkley type. What?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, what? What are you saying? He goes, yeah, like that type. Well, first of all, when I was younger, Christie Brinkley was on my wall in that red bathing suit.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? This woman you're thinking
Yeah.
of her. Now, but I should let you know, when you, though, that's called a pitch. We're thinking of this type. We're thinking of a Christie Brinkley type. The odds are you can't get Christie Brinkley. We would do that with every role. Like, hey, what if we got, well, in one case, Bill Murray, and then we got him.
Exactly.
But I mean, you pitch out the most crazy things that will probably never happen.
Right.
You give the offer to those people expecting that because of scheduling or whatever, they'll never do it. And so all it was type, which meant to me, I'm getting a supermodel, because that is her type.
Exactly.
That is her type.
Yeah.
So then, weeks later, I get the word, Christie's on board.
Yeah.
Like, what? And the way it happened, I found out later from her daughter, Christie had never seen the show, so she didn't know anything about us. And she mentions to her daughter, Sailor, who I think was around 13 at the time, who was obsessed with the show. And she said, I got a call to do this show, Parks something. And Sailor goes, Parks and Recreation? Yeah. And they want me to play somebody's wife. And Sailor told me later, she goes, I kept thinking, wait, he's married, he's got a girlfriend. Like she was trying to figure it out. And she goes,
everybody.
Jerry Gergich? And she goes, yes, Gergich. And she goes, Mom, you got to do it. So that is the reason Christie Brinkley did the show, because of her daughter, Sailor. And awesome. a couple years ago, Christie was going to do Dancing with the Stars, and she ended up breaking her arm, and her daughter, Sailor, took over for her. And I was there because my friend Kate Flannery, who played Meredith on The Office, she was also dancing, and so I went to support her, and blah, blah. And so Christie and I had a reunion. It made People magazine. The Gergiches are back together. But it was surreal. And she's... just put, I know we're here to talk about my book, but she's got a book that's coming out. And I remember saying to her, you got to write this stuff down, because she has been through it. I mean, high highs and low lows. And she's been in a helicopter crash. She held a little kid while they thought his mother was dying, like after the crash. I mean, she has been through some stuff. And she's finally writing about it. And she's also an amazing storyteller, because she would be telling us these stories and we'd be in the trailer just like, oh my God. Even Rob Lowe, who's also an amazing storyteller and always has stories to tell, even he would be like, wow, she really is something. So I'm happy to say she's got a book coming out. I don't know when, but I know it's happening. So yeah, that was a gift. The whole Gergich family was a gift.
Yeah.
It made no sense. And one of my favorite running gags throughout the whole show, after we meet Gail, is Ben not understanding how this has happened. Was she kidnapped? Was she drugged? What happened? Why is she with him? Yeah. And Noel, the thing that I don't understand, why is it so odd?
I agree.
I don't understand it. I don't get the joke. I really don't get the joke.
No. I mean, you can paint. You're very
I can
talented
paint.
pianist.
I play the piano. I can do do magic.
Job with a pension,
and he's got
benefits.
and a huge hog. So you know what I mean? That's what we got. That's what we had to offer.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that, and like when Leslie comes for breakfast and you're seeing eggs, bacon, and toast, and it's
we are the grossest family in the whole world. But what I love about that episode, it was called Jerry's Retirement. And yes, the audience in the world has seen Jerry, he's the punching bag and everything, but Leslie learned during that episode, Jerry had it all.
Yeah.
He had it all. As much as he was the punching bag at work, he loved the people he worked with, but he also knew what was important to him. And to him, what was important was his family.
Absolutely.
He left at 5:00. I mean, he did whatever Leslie wanted. He was always there to support her, but then it was time to go home to his family. And she saw the lunacy of this family that adored Jerry with all their heart. They love him. And he flips a mug that in the office, would have crashed and broken. But at home,
he catches it.
He nails it.
Yeah.
And then Jerry shows her, the moment I just loved is when Jerry shows her their travel books, all their albums. Yeah. And Leslie gets it, like, wow, he has had it all. And I love that. Of course, that episode title scared the shit out of me. It was called Jerry's Retirement.
Exactly.
And that was not a good thing. They were dicking with me because I hate them. No, here's the thing. I always say, no one loves busting balls more than I do. And I love even getting my own balls busted. And that kind of stuff went back and forth for 7 seasons, and they got me. Because until I'm reading that episode, I'm like, what the hell? No one is. I was so, I was like, wait a minute, you're not even going to call me in to tell me I'm going to be leaving the show? Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? I really, I couldn't believe it. And because I have actor friends who have found out about losing jobs watching television,
Wow. Yeah.
watching Entertainment Tonight, listening to the local LA entertainment news where they're saying, "Oh, so and so is off of," or the show
Right.
was canceled. They're finding it out, and I thought, my God, I love these people. How could they do this to me?
Yeah.
Without tell, I get that shows change and
Right.
characters come and go, but you're not going to call me in. But anyway, they got me
They
because at the
got you.
very, very end, so I'm reading the script and Jerry's gone. He's gone. He's left the office. He's
Yeah.
caught on fire. The fire is out. He's been sprayed with fire extinguisher. He goes home. And then Leslie goes to the house. It's over. And at the very end, Ron says, Jerry he'll still be our punching bag
Yeah.
because it was looked like it was going to be Tom, and Tom was not happy about it.
Right.
So, but I did not know until the very last couple of pages that that was not a real thing, and I hate them and love them for it all at the same time. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah. And then you got to become mayor, and how many
mayor and
terms did you have? You had so many
I,
terms. Yeah.
30 years, however
Yeah.
many terms 30 years are. Yeah,
Yeah.
he beloved. He became beloved. And
Yeah.
and I'm not, we find that out in the in the series finale,
Yeah.
not even the season finale. And I as I told you, I'm a huge TV guy, and some of my very favorite shows for me, and everyone's different, they didn't nail it. I just like Seinfeld. I love Seinfeld.
Yeah.
For me, not there were moments of it that were
Yeah, I
amazing,
agree.
but I didn't get that when it was over. I was like, oh, damn it. Like,
Yeah.
just not exactly what I was hoping for. And I'm not a writer, so I'm not knocking anybody. Like,
Right.
God bless the people with these brains that can do all this. Um, but I remember years ago, there was a show called 6 Feet Under,
Yes.
and that finale was shocking and brilliant. And I was crying. I don't normally cry at television. I was crying at television, and amazing. And I feel, and again, I know I'm biased and
Yeah.
I can take no credit because I didn't write it, but I think Parks also nailed the
Oh,
finale.
100%.
Seeing what happened to Jerry, seeing what happened to Tom, his
Yeah.
failures, and ultimately his success.
Right.
Is Leslie and Ben, are they somehow, is she the president? Is she a governor? We don't know. But at
Mhm.
Jerry's funeral, they're Secret Service.
Right.
So something has gone on.
Yeah.
And I just love it. I just love that. And, it was a tough 2 weeks to film those episodes. I cried like a baby every
Mhm.
day. But I really feel like they nailed it. And I've had people say to me, well, I've never watched the finale. I go, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And they said, well, it means it's over. I said, well, it is over.
Yeah, exactly.
Number one.
Yeah.
But number two, you got to see what happened to these people. And
Absolutely.
of course, I'm like, especially Jerry.
Yeah.
Take a look at what happened to Jerry. If you love my character, take a look
Yeah.
and see what happened. So yeah, I think it's pretty special. I really do. I think I think they just nailed it. They really
Okay.
nailed it.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you mentioned finales are tough.
They are tough. They're
I think
because how
Breaking-
can you please
yeah.
everybody?
Right.
That's tough to do.
Yeah. I think Breaking Bad nailed theirs perfectly.
Nailed it.
I think Cheers is a great finale.
Great finale. Oh, that walking, lovely. Like a finale that some people still say it's perfect. It wasn't for me. With Gandolfini.
The Sopranos. Yeah.
The Sopranos. And I get for the people who love it. I get why they're loving it. They
Yeah.
go, yeah, but he walked in and they were killed. Well, we don't know that.
We don't know that. Yeah.
We don't know that. And maybe they were, but let's face it, Tony's gotten out of other tight spots.
Yeah. He is.
So maybe Tony got out of that.
Yeah.
And I know it was said, the writers, creators said, you can make up your own mind. You know what? I'm simple. I don't want to make up my own mind.
I want
I
people
want
to tell
you
me.
to tell me what happened.
Exactly.
Tell me what
Yeah.
happened.
I agree.
So, but yeah, I think Parks really nailed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really, again, I have no reason to be proud of them. I didn't write them, but I'm really proud of that finale.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing I think about Parks, more than like any other, maybe Seinfeld, is the amount of memorable recurring characters.
Oh, the best.
I mean, I can come up with 10 different ones. And
Jean Ralphio,
Ralphio,
Mona Lisa, Joan
Jeremy Jam,
Calamezzo,
Yeah.
Durble, the guy from the accounting office, who Ben would go.
and he idolizes
oh,
Ben. Yeah.
Oh my God. And Ben would say these grossest puns, and they thought it was the funniest thing that's ever happened in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, you're totally right. The recurring characters were amazing.
Yeah.
And to this day, like Mo Collins, who played Joan Calamezzo,
Yeah.
she's one of my favorite people in the whole world. We're actually doing a film together.
Oh, great.
The first week of December, I think we head to Kentucky or something like that. So they're just, and then we had people like Paul Rudd who came in to play with us. Bill Murray came in to play with us. It really was, it was really something. It really was. And Shauna Mulway-Tweep was Allison Becker. And, you know, I do the Parks and Recollection podcast. And my favorite thing when I talk to people who came in, whether they recurred or even just had a one-time guest spot, is I'm kind of obsessed with wanting them to tell me they had a good time. Like I want them, and it's never failed. It's never failed because that's just what that show was. Amy Poehler and Mike Schur had a policy, and it was the no assholes policy.
Good.
So there was no being an asshole on that set. If you were, you weren't. You didn't hang. There were directors who were one and done. We never saw them again because we had our style, and our style worked for us. And we had Amy, like in, not the word in charge, I know that that's the right word, but she was number one on the call sheet, which means she's the star of this show. And she showed up with a smile on her face every day and just set such a great tone. And the first on the call sheet does set the tone. It's an important role. You're not just an actor. You are setting a tone. And she set that tone. Then you have Mike, who's the showrunner, also running the writer's room, and he has set the tone up there that everyone's welcome. Every contribution is important. We were allowed to contribute storylines if we had them. It doesn't always happen. Again, I've been on a lot of shows. You know, you are to do the lines you are given, and that is all there is. And we did and this has become, on other comedies I've done since Parks, because the word got out that we were doing this and how effective it was. After every scene was done and everybody was happy, the writers, the director, and the actors, and we're like, yeah, this is good, we would do a fun run. And a fun run meant we could do whatever the hell we wanted. Whatever. We all knew what the scene was supposed to be. We knew where it had to go, A to Z. But we could say whatever, we could do whatever. And Noel, some of these fun runs ran for 20 minutes, which the whole show was only 21 and a half minutes. So obviously it's not going to be in there. But I think it's one of the reasons we stayed so tight, because we got to play together every single day. And believe me, that was a group of talented improvisers. Amy Poehler, she's the queen. You know, and I trained at Second City with improvisation. I feel, you know, I can hold my own. You have, you know, Aziz and Nick and Aubrey and this cast who was really good at just making shit up on the spot. And we laughed our butts. One time, Retta flung her wig off. Like, crazy stuff happened all the time. And most of it never made it because the scripts were already so tight. But I really believe it's what kept us tight as a cast, because we played together every single day. And one thing I always like to mention, when a new director would come in, you know, they have these, they call it a tone meeting with the director, just to let them know, here's our process, here's how we do it. I think they even give dirt on the actors. This is what I've heard. I've never been in a tone meeting, but you know, like, this one likes to do this, whatever. They give them the lay of the land. And one time, Morgan Sackett, who is, in my opinion, the greatest line producer who's ever walked the planet, you know, he's the money guy. He's doing all, and now he's just a big exec producer on Hacks and all that kind of stuff. But he was checking in with the new director once, and he said to the director, "How's it going?" And the director said, "It's good. It's good. Sometimes it's hard to get them focused because they're all like chatting together and laughing." And Morgan said, "If the worst problem we have is that these people are getting along, we're fine. And we will eat that time, whatever time that is. We will eat it. Because, you know, Rob Lowe will tell stories that he's been on sets where people literally weren't speaking to each other. They would talk through production assistants, like, tell him I said this, and he would say, well, he said to say this." We didn't have that. Every conference room scene, I loved when we would get the scripts for the next episode. Anytime there was a conference room scene, I had a smile on my face, because that meant sitting around laughing and bullshitting. Because again, there's so much time between takes, and that is what went on. And I did this live thing with Amy recently. She's helping me promote the book, and we talked about that, how what a gift. What a gift to get. I mean, your job, and it is a job. I'm not saying it's all smiles and
Of
everything's
course.
wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, Amy is, the women have it much tougher. They're in that hair and makeup chair at 5:30 in the morning. And when you're Amy, who's got, you know, she's in most of the scenes,
Yeah.
on top of it, she's got to learn the lines. She's got 2 kids at home. I mean, it's
A
a
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
You know, someone like me, if I had a 7 a.m. Camera call, they could get me in that chair at 6:45, and there's plenty of time. Put a
Right.
little powder, put a
Yeah.
little, you know, get rid of a bag or two if they can do that and move on. But you know, with the women, it's the hair, it's the makeup,
Yeah.
it's the whole thing. So but yeah, so we played every single day. Yeah,
That's
it was a
great. Yeah.
gift.
That's great. I gotta ask you about a couple other stuff you did. My son was home during summer from college, and he watches the Thundermans. And I see you had
Oh
an
my God.
episode, yeah, and it was just like out of nowhere. You're a farmer, and you come out of like the cornfield, and I'm like, oh
I
shit, it's
literally
Jim
come out of the
O'Hare.
cornfield.
Yeah, it was the funniest thing. So and he's like, you know him? Like, oh yeah, from Parks and Rec. It was just the funniest thing out of
It is
nowhere.
random.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like I said, I I promise I don't check myself out on IMDb, but other people
yeah,
keep reminding me, especially during all this interview process.
yeah.
And apparently I have over 200 credits.
Wow.
So, and that's not, and Parks is only one credit.
Yeah,
We did 126 episodes. It's only one of the, there's two, over 200, whatever it is. So I have been on so many different shows, and that is such a gift. Like Nick Offerman and I would always say we were journeyman actors. You know, before Parks, we both worked a lot,
right.
but never that job that took you over the fence, like, you know, enough to pay your bills. I
Right.
was very much a guy that people would look at me and go, oh, you look so familiar, which, believe me, for an actor, that's not a bad thing.
No.
It means you're out there enough,
Yeah.
which means you're making money and you're living your life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I have done a lot. And here's a bit of an embarrassing story, but it's what happened. So months ago, this girl comes up to me and she said, oh, and I assumed it was going to be about Parks because
Yeah.
90% of my interactions with fans are about Parks.
Right.
But she walks up and she goes, oh, I just want to tell you, I loved you in Criminal Minds.
Okay.
And I said, oh, I didn't do that. I'm so sorry. And she goes, yes, you did. I go, no, I didn't do a Criminal Minds. She goes, you did. And then she pulls up IMDb. And yes, I did. And it was the penultimate episode of the whole series.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm like, oh my God. And then, of course, it all came rushing back. I played Sharon Lawrence's attorney. Anyway,
Yeah.
but the gift and the curse, I, I've been so blessed to do so many shows. I forgot.
Forgot.
I forgot that
Yeah.
I did Criminal Minds. She had to, and she corrected me
Yeah.
she was saying, hey, dude, you did it. So don't
Right.
tell me you didn't do it.
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
so I show up on the Thundermans. Oh my God. So, you know, Better Call Saul.
Yeah. Which,
Um,
yeah. How
that
many
was,
Cinnabons did you eat there?
oh, dude. Well, I'll tell you this. You know, in the episode, I had to eat a lot of Cinnabons, and the director called me. You know, we shot that in Arizona, or no, New Mexico, and wait, where the hell? Albuquerque, yeah, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
So we shot it there, and she called me because the Cinnabon thing was very important to her. My character was supposed to be very meticulous with his Cinnabons, and so they sent Cinnabons to my home in L.A. so I could practice cutting Cinnabons. I mean, it was intense.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So now we're on the set, and they brought in 100 Cinnabons a day. Now, I did not eat 100 Cinnabons a day. The crew ate a bunch of them, and plus, most of them are killed because they have to put, you know, stuff on them for cameras.
Yeah.
A lot of it you couldn't eat; it wouldn't be
Right.
safe. But I was eating a lot of them, and every day they had the set medic check my blood to make sure, because, and I'm not diabetic, but
Yeah.
they're like, we need to keep an eye on his sugar levels.
Yeah.
And who saved my ass was Bob Odenkirk, because at one point Odenkirk's like, okay, he's gonna die. Like this is too much.
Right.
And so we came up with different fun ways where at one point I would take it, I would put it on the fork, I'd bring it to my mouth, slide it past my face, and there'd be somebody behind me who would grab it off the fork.
Yeah.
And then I would pull it by my mouth so that if they had to
Yeah.
cut from me to Bob to back, it would look like I ate it.
Wow.
But yeah, that was crazy. And people are like, oh, I bet you can't eat those anymore. Have you met me? I'd have a Cinnabon right now. Are you kidding me? I'd be
Yeah.
thrilled.
Oh yeah. No, they're
Thrilled.
good. Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're damn good. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's fun. Now, I've interviewed a bunch of people who worked with Leslie Nielsen, And
Yes.
so I'm assuming he brought his fart machine on set.
He brought his fart machine. The first we did, it was in Vancouver, and the first we do you do a table read, before you start rehearsal. Right in the middle of that table read, Swoozie Kurtz was doing her line,
Yeah.
and of course, at first, none of us know what's happening because we just didn't.
Yeah.
And then he loved that damn thing.
Oh yeah.
He loved, and I am very much a child. I love a fart bit. I still do.
Yeah.
I have a sister who hates it so much that one time she stopped talking to me, not literally, but
Yeah.
she was so mad because we were heading into a movie theater and I made a fart noise. She hates everything about any bodily noise.
Yeah.
Which, of course, don't tell me what you hate.
No, of course.
Then
Yeah.
you've given me carte blanche
Yeah.
to do whatever the hell I want to do. So no, he was so awesome. And
Yeah.
he's from Canada. And so and we were shooting in his turf. Like we were in Canada shooting that. And he's beloved as he should be. And he tells the stories. He was a dramatic actor.
Yeah.
This is not a guy. He's
Right.
like John Hamm, because John Hamm always felt the same way. John Hamm is a comedy guy at heart, but you get labeled. He's on
Draper. Yeah.
he's Draper. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And so he's broken through now because of shows like he did Parks, he did
Yeah.
30 Rock. Like he's certainly
Yeah.
broken. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. He's
That's
proven
right.
his chops. But Leslie Nielsen was the same way. And I think what really changed it for him was Airplane.
Yeah.
I think that was one of them. And like, oh God, this guy's funny.
Yeah.
This
'Cause they
guy's
got all
really
serious actors in that movie.
they
Which
exactly,
was great.
which is
Yeah.
so smart. It's so
Yeah.
smart. Yes, but I got to work with Leslie
That's
Nielsen.
awesome.
I can't even
Yeah.
when I forgot about that, and you just said it to me, and I got all excited again because that
Yeah.
was a gift. That was an honor. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had Bob Hayes on, and he was telling me about that, and then other people who worked with him was just like
Sure,
farm
sure.
machine, farm machine.
He
Yeah.
was so fun. And I'll say this, and I know he's gone. He's been gone many years,
Yeah.
but he wouldn't pick up a check for some reason. The dinner the rest of us would pay. I never saw him pick up a check.
Right.
That doesn't bother me. I think sometimes people at his level think it's just somehow all taken care of through the studio
Yeah.
or whatever. Because I've had that happen with other people, and I know they're not being cheap. I think they just think, oh, it's just
Assuming.
all taken care of somehow.
On the network,
Yeah.
on the
So
company. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So we would tease about that. Yeah.
That's funny. And then I guess you kind of got lucky with your makeup for Star Trek Voyager, alien wise, because it could have been a lot worse, right?
I
So
ended up with a big vagina on my forehead. If
yeah,
you take
pretty
a look,
yeah.
that is what they gave me.
Yeah.
But it was the first time. Yeah, it was Star Trek Voyager, and that's the one with Kate Mulgrew, right?
Yeah.
She was the
Captain,
commander, and it was the first time I ever had to go in and have my face masked.
Yeah.
Where they put the goo on your face, and
Yeah.
I hear
Oh.
they do it different now, but when I did it, they put straws up my nose
Right.
to breathe, and they said, please try to stay together because
Yeah.
if you break, we got to start over. And some people apparently they get very claustrophobic and they
Yeah.
can't do it. And I will tell you, I was borderline. It was definitely borderline because in one way it's really cool. Like the whole process is
Yeah.
really cool. But when you're sitting there and there's only two straws and you have nothing to think about other than your breathing. Like right now, we're talking, we're not thinking about
Yeah.
breathing. But if we
Exactly.
sit and just think about breathing, you're going to start getting like,
Yeah.
am I getting every breath in? And that's what was happening. Thankfully, I did not break.
Good.
But it was tight because they said to me, if you have to, but try not to. But yeah, that was really cool. I played something called Husband.
Yeah.
And people still recognize me. And here's the obsession with those shows, with the Star Trek stuff. I had a condo in Hollywood. When it came time to sell it, to move into the San Fernando Valley, the guy who bought it, he bought it because he was buying it for his son, and his son walked in and recognized me from Star Trek and said, "Dad, I want this," because I lived there.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, good for me. We made
Exactly.
a sale.
Jack up the
Everything was
price,
good.
yeah.
I moved to the valley. It was all
Yeah.
good. But that is why they bought that condo, because the
Wow.
guy who guested
Yeah.
with a vagina on his forehead, because that's what, when they were done with everything, to me, that's what it just looked like,
Yeah.
this weird thing. But yeah, that's how I sold my condo.
Yeah. Can't even call you a dickhead.
Dickhead, yeah. And this, well, I could use another word, but yes.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So if you had to guess, how many Santas have you played?
Oh, a lot of Santas, dude. And there was a Santa I played last year that I I should try to get a hold of it and repost it because I don't think a lot of people saw it because the strike was on and we couldn't
Mm.
promote stuff.
Okay, that's right.
And like I did a holiday Hallmark movie last year called Where Are You Christmas? And it's really, it's Hallmark, so it's sappy and it's all
Yeah.
this, but it's really sweet. It's a lovely film, and I had a wonderful part. I was the dad, and just it was a wonderful experience. We shot it in Mystic, Connecticut,
Oh, okay.
but I couldn't promote it because
Yeah.
I couldn't because of the
Right.
strike. So I did the year before I'd done a Coca-Cola thing with as Santa, but it wasn't a commercial. It was a 15-minute short film. And so we did another one this past year. It was with me and Octavia Spencer and
Okay.
Snoot McNairy.
Oh yeah, he's great.
And it's pretty great. I'm really proud of it. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I need to see if I can get that reposted this year because
Yeah.
I couldn't say a word about it last year because
Right.
we couldn't promote. We couldn't
Yeah.
promote. So anyway, but yeah, so I have played Santa a lot. And then I got to play, for people who watch the movie The Santa Claus with Tim Allen,
Right.
I ended up playing, in that film, the Santa's dead within,
Yeah.
well, very quick. Well, turns out he wasn't dead. And
Yeah.
I got to play him years later. Turns out it was all set up, and we did it because we thought we needed a Tim Allen or whatever his character's name is type person to change things at the North Pole. And so Tim Allen's done a show called The Santa Clauses, I
Right.
believe, for it's
Disney.
Disney.
Yeah.
And so I got hired to play that Santa, and it was so cool. Number one, because I love that movie, and
Yeah.
that's so cool. I am that Santa. Like
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. It was a tough shoot. It was so tough because we were also again in the Santa Clarita area at the Disney lot, 100 and something degrees in July, full Santa. I mean, the beard, the gloves, the whole thing. They were so great though. Like they built Tim and I separate like tents that would have these big air conditioning machines in them just to try to help us
Yeah.
survive. But it was really cool. And then one of the scenes at the very end, and I generally don't see the finished product of things I do just because
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
one of those actors.
You move on. Yeah.
I hate looking at myself. And but we shot a scene with all of the Santas that people have thought about over the years, even the scary ones,
Okay.
Krampus, and like I
Yeah.
mean, they
Right.
really went for it. So I thought
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. But yes, I have played many,
Yeah.
and I even recently did a reading for a film that hopefully will be shot in the near future. And they called and said, "Would you be Santa?" And and it was just a reading, so nobody
Yeah.
would even see it. But it was oh, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, very typical Santa.
That's great. And you mentioned Mystic, Connecticut. I live about 90 minutes away. We go.
Seriously, dude, I have
Yeah.
never been there.
Oh,
It's
I love it.
lovely.
Yeah.
It's so great, so pretty. And we were there like in the spring, so the water boat stuff wasn't open, but the weather was lovely.
Yeah.
And there's that little town there, and
Yeah.
there's so many restaurants, and
It's great.
and of
Yeah.
course, Mystic Pizza
Pizza.
literally
Exactly.
is there.
Yep.
And of course, I went and had a couple slices there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. It was like 2 to 3 weeks or something, and Hallmark was shooting a couple of them back to back,
Okay.
and I loved it. And they put me in this sweet little hotel right there. Yeah, that was a good experience. That was
Yeah.
really, really good. Because the world has changed. It's rare for me. I can't speak for everybody. Everything I do these days, I'm on a plane and I'm somewhere else shooting it. Like
Right.
I'm heading to Kentucky. Um, uh, I did a film in Barcelona. Like LA is in trouble as far
Right.
as location shooting, and I don't know what's going to fix it. I don't know if they have to give more tax incentives. I don't know the answer,
Right.
but I hope they come up with it soon because as much as I like to travel, it's also nice to be home.
Exactly.
Like
You
I'm
want a
doing
short
this.
commute?
Yeah, it's just like this book tour has me. I'm going to leave for 2.5 weeks all over the country. I end up in Chicago, which is my home base originally. I'm from Chicago, so
Yeah.
that's great. I'll spend Thanksgiving with my family. But then I get home on the 30th, and then the first I leave for a film in Kentucky. So it's just like it'd be so nice if it was here. It would be
No,
so
I
easy.
hear
I
you.
go to work in
Yeah.
the morning, come home at night. But anyway, I'm just grateful to be working.
Exactly.
So I'm not bitching,
No.
but
Just,
it'd be
take
nice
it when you
to,
can get it.
yeah, like I keep saying, I'd love to land another series here because a lot of my friends, they're getting series, but they're in Vancouver, they're in
Right.
Toronto,
Yeah.
they're in
Georgia.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
Austin, which means you're packing up your life for 9 months.
That's true.
It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll land something soon because
Well, it's
you're talented enough.
people are like, oh, well, thank you. But people are like, do you
Yeah.
want to do a series again? And at first I was like, no, not right away. But what I do miss most about a series, and again, I could get on another one and it won't be anything like Parks,
Right.
but I love the camaraderie of the same people every day.
Yeah.
And not just this cast, which of course I love with all my heart, but the crew, like the crew people, those are my folks. I still
Yeah.
see some of them. Recently, I bought a new car because my car was in an accident. I had to get a new car. And the dealer or the salesman, she was trying to break into the business in a certain department where she got her degree in it, but she was selling cars to pay the bills. So I called, the woman who was in charge of our props and everything. And so I hooked them up together. Like, these are lifelong friends. These are my people. And I love that. And I do miss that. I miss the daily, like I said earlier, busting balls, laughing with each other, making each other laugh. I do miss that. So I'd love to get another series. I'm ready. I'm definitely ready.
Well, I'll be rooting for you, definitely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. But welcome to Pawnee, Stories of Friendship, Waffles, and Parks and Recreation comes out the 19th, right?
19th. And I will say this, even if you don't want to read the damn book, if you're fans of the show, you got to see the cover. The cover of this book is exceptional. And I didn't create it. So I'm not saying, oh, I'm special. I gave you a great cover. I've had people tell me they're going to get 2 copies, one for me to sign and one to take the cover and frame it.
Oh, wow.
Because it's so awesome. There's, the young people use the term Easter eggs. There's little Easter eggs on the cover, and everyone's in caricature, and all the classics. Owen is on there, Crazy Owen, and Joan Calamezzo, and of course, Ben Schwartz, who, Jean Ralphio, and Mona Lisa, and Little Sebastian, and it's a pretty amazing cover.
Yeah, and there are so many Easter eggs in that show. So
yes, I love that.
But don't listen to Jim. Read the book. Read it.
Read the damn book, you people.
Buy 2
or
copies.
listen to it. Listen or read it. Do whatever you want to do.
Read it and listen to it.
Yes, do both. I love
do both. Yeah. But Jim, this was amazing. I really appreciate your time today, and best of luck.
I'm glad we could work it out. I know we were trying to figure out schedules, and I'm just happy it was able to work out.
And a special thanks to Jim for joining me today. Go check out Welcome to Pawnee, Stories of Friendship, Waffles, and Parks and Recreation. The book comes out Tuesday the 19th. Like I said, it's fantastic. He's going to be on a book tour. Check out his X feed for that at Jim O'Hare. It has all the information on there. He's working on an audiobook like he mentioned. You can imagine that's going to be great. If you have a guest suggestion, you can hit me up on X, formerly Twitter, at @thepersonal19, or like the page Reliving My Youth on Facebook. Go to iTunes, check out all the past episodes we've had. While you're there, please rate and review the show. Don't have iTunes? Not a problem. Show's on SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, basically where you can find a podcast. New episode will come out soon. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you then.